All right, let's dive into a world where your dinner plate is basically a science experiment and your meal is a delicious illusion. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on a true culinary pioneer, the incredible molecular Chef A. So, let me ask you a question. Can you eat a bubble of air? It sounds like a trick question, right? But honestly, this gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's all about taking something you think you know, like air, or an olive, or even just a potato, and completely flipping your experience of it on its head. And in Chef A's kitchen, questions like that are just Tuesday. Because for mine like theirs, food isn't just about fuel. Oh no. It's a canvas for art, a laboratory for science, and a stage for a big surprise. Chef A isn't just a cook. They're an inventor, always pushing the limits of what a meal can even be. So, to really get a handle on Chef A's wild creations, we first have to understand the philosophy behind it all. And it all starts with a field that sounds kind of complicated, but really, it's just about being incredibly curious. Okay, don't let that term, molecular gastronomy, scare you off. At its core, it's really just about asking why. You know? Why does steak get that perfect crust? Why does a sauce get thick? And once you understand the why, you can start asking the fun questions like, what if? What if I could trap the taste of a fresh strawberry inside a tiny little bubble that bursts in your mouth? That's where the magic happens. And this, right here, this really sums it up. A traditional chef, their goal is to make food that tastes great. Totally respectable. But Chef A adds a whole other level. The goal isn't just to make it taste good, it's to make it taste good and completely surprise you, to challenge your senses, to make you really think about what you're eating. So how in the world does Chef A pull off this sensory magic? Well, it's time to peek inside their toolkit. Let's look at a couple of their signature techniques that turn everyday ingredients into something, well, something else entirely. First up is one of the most famous ones. I like to call it the edible water balloon. Just picture it, a tiny, delicate little sphere sitting on a spoon. It looks fragile, like a dewdrop. But then you put it in your mouth and pop, an absolute explosion of pure, concentrated flavor. So this amazing technique is called spherification, and the science behind it is just brilliant. You take a liquid, let's say mango juice, and you mix it with something called sodium alginate, which comes from seaweed. Then you just drop little spoonfuls of that mix into a water bath that has calcium in it. A chemical reaction happens instantly, forming this super thin jelly-like skin around the liquid. And boom, just like that, you've trapped all that mango flavor inside a perfect little edible pearl. And for Chef A, this is so much more than a cool party trick. It's about isolating a flavor, taking it out of its usual context, and delivering it in a way you've never experienced. It's about creating that one single perfect moment of pure taste. But Chef A's kitchen is no one-trick pony. I mean, what if you could do the complete opposite? What if you could take a rich, fatty liquid, something like olive oil, and turn it into a light, fluffy powder you could sprinkle on things? This all comes down to a process that's related to emulsification. By using a special kind of starch from the tapioca plant, which is super absorbent, Chef A can basically soak up all that rich olive oil. It completely transforms the texture from a liquid into this airy powder that just melts on your tongue, releasing that classic, beautiful olive oil flavor. It's like taking something familiar apart and putting it back together in a totally new way. Okay, so seeing all of this, it's pretty easy to wonder, are these just flashy tricks? I mean, are we still talking about dinner, or have we stumbled into some kind of science fair? It's a totally fair question, and it really gets to the soul of this whole culinary movement. Yeah, let's just ask it directly. When you see olive oil that looks like dust or a little green sphere that tastes like a pea, your first thought might be skepticism. Is this just style over substance? Is it just a gimmick so restaurants can charge more money? Well, Chef A has a very, very clear answer to that. See, for Chef A, the science is never the point. It's always a tool used to achieve a bigger artistic goal. The techniques are no different than a chef's knife or a whisk. They're used to make you think differently about texture, or to trigger a childhood memory with a sudden burst of flavor, or to let you experience a simple carrot as if it's the first time you've ever tasted one. And all of this brings us to the real legacy of Chef A's work. This isn't just about a few fancy, high-end restaurants. It's about a fundamental change in how we can think about food and cooking itself. And that's really the big takeaway, isn't it? What Chef A and other pioneers show us is that it's okay to be curious in the kitchen. The idea that understanding the science, the hows and whys of cooking, doesn't take away the magic. it actually adds to it. It gives chefs, and even us at home, the power to be more creative, more playful, and ultimately more thoughtful about the food we make and eat. So, as we wrap this up, I'll leave you with this little thought experiment. If you had this mindset, this toolkit of creativity and curiosity, what food would you redesign? Would you make a hot ice cream? Maybe a solid soup? Or an apple that fizzes in your mouth? The kitchen is your lab now. So, where would you start?